Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.
It's lights out and away we go. Alberto's got away beautifully at the start of the great race. Who's that got off?
Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc.
Welcome to Negative Camber, the motorsport show.
Far enough back, he's going to make the lunge down the inside.
The ultimate pit stop.
The safety car is coming in.
Fueling your passion for motorsport.
With an emotional moment that means everything.
All of the latest results, analysis, and interviews.
Roar the drivers on to the final lap of this race.
I'm Jamie Lemura, motorsport enthusiast, historian, and media presenter.
And I'm Lee Harrison, motorsport professional, Sprintmaster Australia race driver, and Formula One alumni.
We're off on supercars now, and whilst you were racing, I was spectating, and I took Orlando, my son, out to his very first motorsport meet at Tailem Bend to watch the latest round of the V8 supercars. Now, the ultimate highlight was actually sharing the special moments with my son. The other highlight was actually watching the racing. But you know what was another key highlight for me? I saw God. We had our moment walking up the stairs. G'day, Scafey, how are you? G'day, mate, how are you? There was a smile, there was a glance, there was a wink. And he walked into the commentary booth, and I looked back and had just 2 seconds stared. And I'm like, day, mate. I feel like I've confessed all my sins and come back a lightened man.
Why didn't you podcast? Let him know about the podcast. Hey, Scafey, I've got a podcast.
What about you and Craig Lowndes? How did that go for you?
Yeah, I didn't. I was sitting 3 rows behind him. It was very disgusting. If I'd seen him before we actually started walking down the tunnel to the plane, I would have got straight into him. But then, didn't work out.
No, MS was definitely a man on a mission. So I thought, better not disrupt the chi. I'll let him go. He was like, straight in. But don't worry, I got my fix again, so I was quite happy with that. And Orlando walked straight past him, so he was blessed by God as well. It was great.
Yeah, I had no idea who he was.
No, you had no idea.
No.
But Todd Hazelwood, God bless him, was actually the very first professional driver that, technically, when I say professional driver, I'm talking like V8 supercar driver, because he did meet Adrian Cottrell and Ruben. So shout out to those two for allowing Orlando to sit in the seats of your race cars straight after practice sessions, mind you, and races and stuff like that. Orlando was pretty chuffed, and I was very trigger finger happy. But to see his face light up when he was out on track and all that sort of stuff, and going through merchandise and all that sort of stuff, that's sort of stuff that I won't forget, and also he won't forget. But I also remembered I'm not going to go on a show ride like one of those little Gravitron-y type things ever again, man. I suck ass. It's bad.
Did you go on one?
I tried. We got a quarter of the way up, and I was about to chuck up my guts and said, nah, told the ride guy, bring it down, stop. No way. And he goes, mate, what's going on? So, it's like there's like these little carts, and they've got these arms, and they elevate up into the air, and then they start to drop up and down for a little bit, and then it stops. Orlando wanted to go on one of those, and I'm like, I'll be racing go-karts. I should be okay, but I know I suck on aircraft. So sure enough, we get up, starts to build speed. All of a sudden, I'm starting to feel a bit nauseous and dizzy. We got a quarter of the way up, Lee. Like, I swear, we were on the ride for maybe 2 minutes. I turned around to the guy and said, nah, mate, stop this. So he winds the ride down, and he's like, mate, everything all right? Is he okay? It's like, no, he's fine. It's me. So you got two options. Either he wears the vomit, or you're going to be cleaning up out of the cart. And he goes, I don't want to do either. I said, no, neither do I. So I said, we're out of here. For a week, Orlando rode with me on that. He's never forgotten about it. I said, you know what? Go with your non-no. He's the roller coaster guru.
I'm going to bring that up next time I see Orlando too, because I was. We went to the Fringe earlier this year, and Avery had me on something that was doing all sorts of somersaults and spins and stuff like that. I did not want to go on that sort of stuff. I've done my thrill seeking. I didn't need to go on that again. But no, you live quite a sheltered life there, don't you?
Mate, I suck. I legit suck. But then, you know what? I could go riding around, turn one Barossa in terms of violence, right, and whatever, and that's no problem.
Yeah.
But as soon as I get on an aircraft or even on a ship or like a boat, let's say, if it's choppy seas, I'm chopping. I don't know what I'm chopping. Chopping my own vomit and throwing it up. But anyway, so Bend, yes. When I was there, walking through pit lane and stuff like that, there was an air of something. I couldn't put my finger on it. Uncertainty is probably a good word to describe it. It's a very weird vibe. And sure enough, after the event, here's the reason why. So we go to rumours going around that Tickford are actually going to drop 2 cars out of their 4. That there's potentially BRT or Blanchard Racing are going to be picking up a second licence to go to 2 cars. But that also drops the field down to 24 to allow for cheaper logistics and overseas travel, and maybe the potential of being a support card for the Singapore Grand Prix. Dave Reynolds has been announced as of yesterday that he's leaving Grove and is going to Team 18. Scott Pye is now out of a seat for the moment. Richie Stanaway has now moved in to replace David Reynolds in Grove. We got Will Brown, who was announced was worst kept secret in the supercars, but he's now replaced Shane Van Gisbergen at Triple Eight, which therefore left his seat vacant, and Jack LeBrock is now leaving Matt Stone Racing and going to Erebus to fill in that seat. Nick Percat has announced that he's leaving Walkinshaw Andretti United, so there's a vacant seat there, but they might be going to their Super 2 driver. I think it's Ryan Wood. Todd Hazelwood, question mark as to whether he's going to be racing next year. There's a spare seat at Matt Stone Racing at the moment. We don't know who's going to be filling that seat, although Matt Stone has been public in saying that he wants to have a proven performer there.
Yeah, that's being heavily linked to James Courtney.
Yeah, and also BRT maybe too, so I don't know how that's going to work out. And then Tickford, are they going to hold on to the 2 cars or are they not? I mean, I saw Tim Edwards and was hovered around him for a few things and a bit of a catch-up, but I mean, they're there. You couldn't tell that they were going to drop to 2 cars or anything of that nature. But, definitely some uncertainty. And then Dave Reynolds and Garth Tander announced that they're going to be teaming up together to race for the Enduros at Grove, which would be a pretty good team. But
the size difference probably going to play a bit of an impact on them as well, with Garth being so tall and Dave being a little shorty. It's going to probably make it a little bit uncomfortable for both of them. There's going to have to be a compromise.
Well, I mean, even getting in and out of the cars is going to be difficult compared to what they're used to over the previous year. So, to have that month off at Sandown, some of the pundits are sort of whinging, moaning and complaining about the month break between the 2 races, but there's actually a lot of work that's going to be involved in terms of the teams learning how to do the pit stops again, because the coupling for fuel lines and the wheel nuts are all changed and that's all different. Obviously drivers coming in and out of the cars are going to be completely different as well. That's going to be a bit of a challenge. What else has come up? The V8 Supercars have announced that they're actually going to go back to New Zealand next year, so they're going to be at Taupo International Motorsport Park, which looks like an epic piece of track.
Doesn't look like there's very much overtaking though. It looks like it's a good track to drive around and hot lap around, but I've been reading comments and some locals think that there's a few passing opportunities, but in the video that I saw of Tom Randall driving a V8 around there on a Assetto Corsa or something, it didn't look like there was many opportunities at all.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to remain and see how that all pans out. And then, of course, your mate Craig Lowndes signs for another 2-year extension at Triple Eight. That'll take his tenure of the team to over 20 years or 20 years.
20 years, exactly, yep.
Yeah, and he'll be concentrating solely on the Super Cheap Auto wildcard entry that they've got for 2 years, which will be driver development and bringing on newcomers. Yeah, absolutely. So plenty of seat swapping and that type of thing. But you know what? It was actually, I didn't mind it. Obviously the bend, is it's not like the Adelaide 500. It just takes me back to the old Mallala days. It's a rural, regional racetrack. Even the teams go to limited, merchandise stands and all that sort of stuff. It's nowhere near the scope and size of the Adelaide 500. Yeah. But it was good to see the cars out there racing. And you know what? If you didn't know all the history behind the category so far this year, you would have thought that it was outside of Erebus, it was actually genuinely pretty even Stevens.
Yeah, but that's sort of, is that just a bend thing? Because the bend has always favoured those Mustangs quite a lot in the recent years. So all that drive traction that those Mustangs had been struggling with, you're not really going to need it there out of any slow corners at the bend. It'll be interesting to see what does come at Sandown, if it is an actual, the parity has been adjusted and it is a bit closer. I'm holding my tongue for now.
Well, the teams stayed back. There was about 3 or 4 teams that stayed back on the Monday to do some testing. Some of it was aerodynamic.
Yeah.
So 2 of the, I think a couple of Ford teams were working on some different aerodynamic components.
Yeah, a lot of spoilers and wing flap gurneys and boot lids and a whole bunch of stuff in the rear of the car.
And based on that, and I was having a discussion with one of the spectators who's a good mate of mine. And look, if you're from afar and you don't know the side of it, you know that DJR were the homologating team, right? What on earth did they design? If they're having to redo rear spoiler, rear flap, front spoiler, if they're having to look at the tunability of the engines and that type of thing, what car got signed off?
Yeah.
Seriously. And
how did it not get caught that it was going to be such a big deficit earlier?
Exactly right. They would have made them. I mean, now, is it because Penske DJR did a lot of the first generation Mustang and they nailed it? Well, okay. How much of that was actually Penske over in the US with their wind tunnel and doing all the aerodynamic tuning? Because I can guarantee you this: the way that Mustang rolled out in 2019. Had it been the way they've gone about it this time or another, it wouldn't have had the same results. Let's face it, DJR haven't really been the same DJR since Penske have left. It's just been a gradual decline.
Yep.
And even they can't get the tuning of their own car that they designed right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a worry in itself. So power steering issues, now look, SVG was the only driver apparently that was public about complaining about power steering racks and pumps to go through 5 at 888, and he was the only car that went through 5 over the week. He's either seriously unlucky, but even some of the commentators, both at track and within the telecast, were starting to get a little bit sceptical about what's going on, because 5 steering racks and 888 cuts short. I mean, 888, they've been around long enough. They built 2 good quality cars. Never in the history of 888 has there ever been a driver coming out saying my car is not to the same level of, say, XYZ. So what on earth's going on there?
Got no idea.
So is it an actual design?
Is he smashing curbs more in this car than other drivers, and it's damaging the car? It's hard to say.
Yeah, but they even the Camaros, like the 888 Camaros, just weren't quite there for the whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it was certainly a fundamental pacing, really, outside of Kostecki, who was, that was close, but he more or less had it covered. He was just a class above for the rest of the field that whole weekend.
Clean swept, and the podium was the same 3 drivers in all 3 races, just in a different format. But yeah, it was a pretty dominant display by Brodie, and he's putting his stamp on the title, and looking for that favouritism now that Will Brown's going to be leaving the team anyway. One thing that you didn't bring up that they were testing on the Monday and Tuesday was a new control tyre,
yes.
The Goodyear tyre. They were actually testing a new manufacturer of tyre as well, which isn't widely known. But yeah, it'd be interesting to hear some feedback from that and see if there is anything in that with separating from Dunlop.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, I guess Sandowns, it's good that they're having Sandown this year as a warm-up for Bathurst. Get any bugs out of the way and in order and get it sorted. But if spectator numbers are the things that people have been critiquing about, Sunday actually had a pretty good crowd there, all things considered. There's some pretty good numbers.
No, that's good to hear.
So which is nice. And so I just think that there's got to be questions asked about some of the process, but everyone wants to pinpoint a certain individual, God, and about some of the things in the process. But isn't it funny how Mr. Adderton's gone really quiet on social media now that Richie Stanaway's actually got a drive, and there's rumour that Boost is going to become the main sponsor of Grove Racing. That's what the word around the street is, and that Mr. Reynolds Davey's going to take Penrite with him to Team 18.
Yeah, well, that was always going to be on the cards, that wherever Davey goes, Penrite will go with him. Grove will be looking for a new sponsor. They've got a good relationship with Peter Adderton, but it won't take long for him to open up the floodgates again on social media. Yeah,
exactly. Especially if he cops a raw deal. It's coming. It'll probably pop up tonight when we get home. Have we got time for Around the World?
We can do Around the World.
I reckon we should. I know I threw you under the bus again. I have a habit of doing that, don't I?
Yeah, I didn't want to hear you speak, so I just cut you off.
Dig.
All right, so we'll jump into NASCAR. Everyone likes when we start with some NASCAR news. 3 races have taken place in the NASCAR Cup Series, with races held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen and Daytona International Speedway. Michael McDowell was a surprise winner in the race held at Indianapolis, leading home Chase Elliott and Daniel Suarez. It was a race that went green for the majority of the distance, with just 1 yellow flag period early on in the race. Shane Van Gisbergen was the highest placed of the non-regular drivers, finishing a very credible 10th place. Brody Kostecki finished in 22nd, with Mike Rockenfeller in 24th, Jenson Button 28th, and Kamui Kobayashi in 33rd. At Watkins Glen, William Byron took his 5th win of the season, leading home Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell. Byron, who had not finished better than 14th in the previous 5 races, left little on the table as he led 66 of the 90 laps to win his first road course race in NASCAR. The race was another largely green race, with only 1 caution coming in the closing stages of the event when Byron's teammate Chase Elliott ran out of fuel. In the night race held at Daytona, it was Chris Buescher who was victorious in the last race before the championship enters its playoff phase. The race was marred by a huge crash involving Ryan Preece, which saw the number 41 fly into the air and flip an amazing 11 times. Preece was attended to and taken to hospital for observation, but has since posted to socials saying he'll be back and cannot wait. In an unfortunate event for Hendrick Motorsports, their fan favourite driver Chase Elliott failed to make the playoffs, as he did not amass enough points nor score a win in his injury-affected season. The final playoff spot was clinched by Bubba Wallace. Ty Gibbs, Sam Meyer and Justin Allgaier were victorious in the 3 corresponding races in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, while in the Craftsman Truck Series, Ty Majeski won the only race, which was held at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. In World of Outlaws, 4 rounds of the World of Outlaws Championship have been concluded since our last show, with wins for Australia's James McFadden at 2 of the 3 rounds that were held at Jackson Motorplex. Carson Macedo won the 3rd round, and Logan Schuchart took the win in the first event to be held at River City Speedway. Brad Sweet has now got a 52-point lead in the championship over Macedo, with David Gravel falling to 3rd, 74 points off the lead. McFadden sits 13th in the championship, 1,500 points from the top. In some good news for our Italian friends, Jack Aitken has taken Ferrari's first win of the 2023 DTM season at the most recent round, which was held in Germany's Lausitzring circuit. After a strong start to the season with a debut podium for Jack Aitken, the Ferrari team struggled for form until Lausitzring. It was a dominant performance for the Ferrari team, as besides a brief period during the pit stop phase where Lamborghini's Mirko Bortolotti undercut him, Aitken led the race and finished 2.4 seconds clear. It was a strong return to form for the Ferrari 296 GT3, which follows on from the car's success in the Nürburgring 24-hour race, where it was victorious, and that was the first time a non-German car had won that race since 2002. And as we enter the back end of the season for all things motorsport, we'll just update on the Moto2 and Moto3 situations. In Moto2, Pedro Acosta is the man to beat with a 12-point lead over Tony Arbolino. These 2 riders are well ahead of third-place rider Jake Dixon, who is currently on 117 points. Acosta is looking to keep his strong form going in the back half of the season, with an impending move across to one of the 2 KTM MotoGP teams almost guaranteed. In Moto3, it's Spanish rider Daniel Holgado, who currently sits 1 whole round clear of Japan's Ayumi Sasaki, who also has an 11-point gap to Dennis Onshu. Australia's Joel Kelso sits in 20th position, 142 points off of the lead of that championship.
There you have it. Man, that rollover in NASCAR the other night, my God.
Yeah, that was a pretty epic one.
That's one of the best ones I've seen.
I was I was going to look at the comments, and I thought the only way that there's not going to be Ricky Bobby comments on all of that photo or that video. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at the comments just yet.
What were your thoughts on SVG Brody in terms of their performances?
Yeah, so for Shane to finish inside the top 10, that's pretty decent performance. He ran there the whole day. Obviously, coming off the back of his win at Chicago, it was a much more even playing field for the whole crew, being on a road course that all those other drivers had driven on. His pace was definitely there, so I think the next real test for him is to actually get into a proper oval race and start. Well, he did obviously the trucks race, but the trucks are a completely different beast again to the NASCAR Cup Series cars. So yeah, I think a couple of Xfinity races on an oval just to get his teeth into it and see how he goes in them. But that'll be the real test. Brody, like he had that unfortunate crash in qualifying, which meant he had to go to the back of the field. But to get back up to 22nd or whatever it was in a 40-car field, that's a pretty decent steer as well. So I think both of them can hang their head high, and to be the best placed non-regular drivers and beat home people like Jenson Button, Kamui Kobayashi, and Mike Rockenfeller, who's a multiple-time DTM champion. You can't say that they did too badly for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the same Indianapolis road course that the F1s used to race. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's a few changes have been made to it, but basically the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, they were out there, and again, they've within their comfort zone for the most part, So in terms of track and bits and that, whatever, Brody was probably the one that was the most out of it because he only had a couple of days really.
Yeah, but what you got to remember is that's where Brody grew up. Like Brody grew up racing late models in the US quite a bit, so he's probably not so much out of the deep end as well.
Yeah, I could imagine how cool it would be racing go-karts in ovals like they do in America.
Yeah,
get a Briggs LO 206, work it a little bit, and get some aerodynamic kit on there, like a supercar body kit on there, and just race. Go around to the local velodromes here around Adelaide, like the outdoor ones, like Edwardstown.
Faster karts like that as well. So it'll be a good laugh. It'd be pretty scary though if you came unstuck.
Actually, that would be a really cool hire kart facility. Can you imagine having like a proper NASCAR type oval hire kart place?
There's no way in God's green earth that SafeWork let us do that.
Why not?
Oh, they just with the rules it would have to go through would be crazy. It'd be very much a one line circuit unless you could build proper banking into it.
Yeah, true. But that'd be pretty cool. Can you imagine? Like in America and stuff, they've got them. Yep. Like not indoor, but they've got an outdoor proper.
They do dirt. They do dirt ones and all sorts of stuff as well. But the joys of living in a not so nanny state.
America. That's where it's at. America. We got time for Formula One. Like jump over. We have to go off to a break first.
You're the one running the show. We'll probably do the break first, and then
let's do a break, and then we'll do F1.
Time to discover more than just a track. It's time to find your racing family at Pro Karts Race Centre. We're more than a racing facility. We're a community of enthusiasts bound by our shared love for motorsport. What sets us apart? Our commitment to inclusivity. We're breaking barriers, welcoming rookies and pros alike to experience the thrill of racing. With our low investment pathways into karting, we're paving the way for the next generation of racers. Whether you're a seasoned racer seeking camaraderie or a beginner eager to learn, Pro Karts Race Centre is your home. Join our vibrant community, feel the passion and share the rush of victory with friends who share your passion. Visit prokartsracecentre.com.au or pop in for a chat at 30 Research Road, Karaka. Pro Karts Race Centre, fueling your passion, igniting your potential.
Welcome back to Negative Cam of the Motorsport Show. We hope you're enjoying the show so far.
The only thing that's going to save the Dutch Grand Prix is if it actually properly rains.
Like last night? It rained a little bit for qualifying last night.
But that was changeable. Like, it needs to be like proper rain. Actually, probably like rain on and off with some drying in between and some strategy would help massively.
And Max not win the start against Lando.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, where there was qualifying last night held at Zandvoort, no sprint qualifying. I actually thought it was a sprint race, but
that's because Foxtel had it on there as a sprint.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
It wasn't just me.
Tricking everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we'll obviously cover the race in detail in our next show, but here are the qualifying highlights from last night.
Plenty of them out there have gone for a change of tyres and not run, and that was very close to contact. If you consider this is qualifying.
That would have been a crash if I didn't avoid him there.
That was Sainz coming out of the pits, was it then, for Piastri? So this is... Oh, but Piastri's cruising, so I don't think that's Oscar on a fast lap particularly.
I couldn't see a thing on the pits.
Zhou Guanyu makes it past the corner just about makes it past the corner where he dropped it in practice. He very nearly did it again. He's really chasing the grip out there, and he's not the only one. Leclerc is down compared to Ocon's time. Ocon's now in the drop zone, and Leclerc needs to find some pace in the middle part of this lap because he's really close to being level now.
No one else is really improving. It looks like the track is going away at this stage. So it's Zhou versus Leclerc probably to get through. Everyone else is either not improving or has taken the checkered flag. So sideways.
He's trying to chase the grip. He's trying to chase the time. But will it be the exit for Charles Leclerc? The Scarlet Ferrari comes across the line, and Charles Leclerc does find it, but only by 0.5 of a second. Pressure lap and a great delivery from Charles Leclerc, who gets through into the next part of qualifying by the finest of margins. It looks like it was absolute chaos at the penultimate corner for Lewis Hamilton before the final crucial laps began.
Alonso got in the way. It must have been peeling everywhere, mate.
But it's Zhou Guanyu, Esteban Ocon, Kevin Magnussen, Valtteri Bottas and Liam Lawson on debut who fall at the first stage of qualifying. Let's go on board with the Monegasque driver, and we've got Hamilton in the drop zone, then Gasly, the two Ferraris, and Hülkenberg, who's on an outlap.
Hamilton only to 8th. There's some big guns in a bit of trouble.
This is really tricky conditions because where you've got the very obvious dry line, it just feels like you've got grip. You can position the car and play with the positioning as you want. But where we get into the areas where it's completely damp, that is where the drivers are really going to be challenged.
There are going to be some upset drivers with big names going out here. Right, Piastri has completed his Q2 session. He's fastest, and he was the driver first to take the flag. Stroll is out there as well. He's finished in 8th. Perez is going over the line again now. He will stay in 7th position. Are we going to see improvements for anyone in the drop zone? Let's find out. Hülkenberg goes over the line, goes to 10th place to demote Logan Sargent. Then it's Tsunoda, Norris, Gasly and Sainz. Has Sainz timed it to perfection, or will he fall out here? Hülkenberg demoted by Tsunoda. Verstappen goes over the line with the fastest time. Now it's over to Pierre Gasly, and Gasly gets up to 9th. Hamilton at risk here. Hamilton needs disappointment for other drivers to be able to make it through. Alonso goes to 4th. Hamilton at risk, and now in the drop zone thanks to the time from Sainz. Then it's Norris up to 7th. Gasly, Hamilton, Tsunoda and Hülkenberg go out. What can Sargent do with a car that's looked good in his teammates' hands? Can he produce something great? He can! Logan Sargent with a superb time to go into 10th position, and we have an almighty shock. Lewis Hamilton would have been dreaming of a second pole of the season in conditions like this, but it's 13th place and an exit. Williams 1-2. Williams putting two cars into the final part of qualifying for the first time since Monza 2017. And they're first and second at the moment, even though Sainz has gone into 3rd position. The yellow flag is out for Logan Sargent, though. And Sargent finds the barriers on the slick tyres. The man who made Q3 for the first time in his Formula One career has found the barriers and brought out the red flag. There's the moment for Logan Sargent. Not much runoff area around this circuit, but he is all right.
You okay? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Sorry.
George Russell sets the benchmark then. And Russell with a 1:12.5. Leclerc behind the Mercedes driver. And that is important. Norris ahead of both of them, though. That McLaren is going brilliantly. Can Piastri go ahead of his teammate? No. It's a McLaren 1-2 with 0.2 of a second between them.
And Verstappen isn't as quick through the first 2 sectors. So here comes Max now out of the final corner.
Perez goes to 5th. Verstappen goes to 3rd. Max Verstappen is only 3rd fastest. A McLaren 1-2 with 4.5 minutes to go. And it's Fernando Alonso who's the fastest driver through the first sector of the lap. Here is the 2-time world champion chasing his first pole in Formula One since 2012.
Yellow flag is out in the middle sector. There's a lot of fast corners.
Leclerc! Charles Leclerc has gone off. It's Norris, Piastri, Verstappen, Russell, and then the man in 5th who has found the barriers.
just got offline, presumably, and then found no grip out there, certainly not on the grass, and it's actually a big whack.
Understeering straight to the barrier. Let's hear from him.
You okay? Yeah, I am. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and as soon as he touched the grass, the car almost accelerated towards the barrier. No level of slowing down.
Looking for 3 in a row at his home event, fighting the car as he goes over the bump. Verstappen trying to match Lando Norris's time through the first sector, through the weaves of 6 and 7, and he is massively up on the British driver's time.
That shows the track is getting better and better. That stoppage just helped to clean the track up a little bit more. Piastri is not as quick as Verstappen. He's 3/10 away, but Norris is quicker than Verstappen in the first sector.
Norris has an answer. After the first third of a lap, Lando Norris has an answer as he chases his second Formula One pole position, but the middle sector is where the Red Bull has been mighty all weekend long.
That's been the strong suit for it, and Verstappen has pumped in another good middle sector. Piastri's not in this. It's Verstappen v Norris from what we can see so far, and Norris has lost a little bit in the middle.
Needs something mighty at the end. Lando Norris, Max Verstappen to the line, goes over and goes into provisional pole position, and the time to beat is a 1:10.5. To raise a cheer from the grandstand, here's Piastri to improve up to second place. What can Lando Norris do? Will it be close as he goes? No, he's to the front row, but he can't get on terms with Max Verstappen.
And watch out for Albon. Albon is going quickly in the Williams. He might even fancy a top 3 here.
Perez moves to third position. Alexander Albon has never been inside the top 7 at the end of a Formula One qualifying session. Alonso now in third. Can Albon do the best he ever has in qualifying? He can, with a supreme lap. Chuck out the old PB. It's a mighty lap for third. Sainz puts it in 5th position with a strong result for him. Alonso is in 5th now. Albon is down to 4th because George Russell puts 2 British drivers in the top 3, but no one has an answer to Max Verstappen in Formula One 2023.
So who's going to get second?
Lando.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon he holds on.
Yeah. Well, let's pray. You know what? If we pray for rain, they'll probably sit behind the safety car for 30 laps until there's a dry line, and so half the race is gone, and Max will probably end up winning anyway.
Yeah, I just while that was playing, I just checked the live broadcast, and unfortunately, it's not raining.
Oh God! And here they are, people complaining that the V8 supercars are supposedly boring and all that sort of stuff. Have they seen Formula One this year?
Pretty exciting for like the Williams, both drivers getting into the top 10. Albon there in 4th, and Logan bringing up 10th. So it's come out of the summer break firing for them. Hopefully they can score some good points.
You can start to see the impact that James Vowles is now having on that team. Imagine if they had a 25-year up-to-date factory and facility. Yeah. But it's so good to see that team up there,
bouncing back.
And bouncing back where they belong, to be up there with McLaren as well. So the old guard, Ferrari, McLaren, Williams, all up sort of hovering around the top 6, although admittedly Ferrari are lucky to be there. There's no pace this weekend.
And one car in the fence.
Charles.
Your mate.
My second mate. Charles. I don't know what to say. He plays a good piano. I know that. Have you heard his piece? His second music piece?
No.
It's very good. It's very good.
Not up to date with what Charles does in his spare time.
I think you should. You'll be cultured.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you need to learn French now, considering Saudi and all that sort of stuff. Yep. So you've gone to Sofitel to start to soften your French skills up. Mm-hmm. So a little bit of Monegasque might help you in that process too.
I'll get onto the translator, the language tool, and I'll start learning some French for you for the next show.
Yeah. No, Charles playing some piano, so it's all instrumental. Very good. A really good pianist. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's all sad.
He's a really good pianist, did you say?
Pianist. So, man, I reckon the flights blocked your ears and stuff.
Definitely.
Oh, God. Yeah. Clearly, you need to... Anyway.
Well, Lando described the second half of his lap as the worst second half of a lap he's ever done, and to only be half a second away from Verstappen seems to say that the gap may not be quite that big in terms of overall pace.
Who knows? What do you think of Zandvoort? I mean, great atmosphere and all, but
I
as a
love the
track,
No,
you
I
reckon?
love it. Yeah,
Love it?
Yeah, I love playing it on the sim. Yeah, I love it.
Oh, okay. Whether the bankings and stuff.
Well, it hasn't got the bankings on the sim yet, but they're doing an updated scan very shortly that'll come out. So I'm looking forward to trying it with the new banking and stuff. But yeah, no, I definitely think it's a pretty cool track. Whereas like it's old school.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, you're done. There's no 500 years of runoff to save you.
Yes.
You're done. You're in the fence. Like Daniel and Oscar found out on Friday, and many drivers found out in qualifying.
Oh, it had to be Ricciardo, didn't it? Like, you don't want any driver to... You know what it does show, though? Irrespective of safety, and the safety's become a long way, for the guy to still break his wrist... that still shows that there's... I mean, if that's the worst that can happen, you take that.
Yeah.
But there's still obviously that element of danger there that at any given moment, you're only a moment away from harm or physical harm or anything of that nature,
Yeah,
too.
it doesn't exactly have to be a massive crash as well. Like, his crash was relatively benign, and it's just the way that he went into the wall that ripped the steering wheel in his hand and snapped his bone in his wrist, so...
Yeah, and then you look and say Mick Schumacher's crashed last year at Jeddah, and he walked away unscathed.
Or Monaco,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the list goes on.
Yeah.
So actually, Haas re-signed Hülkenberg and Magnussen for next year, which is interesting.
Yeah,
bit of continuity though for a change, which is nice.
Neither driver is really underperforming or anything like that. So why not keep them, especially if the vibe is good.
Yep, Sainz with a pre-contract for Audi apparently.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah,
that's if Audi even comes into the sport.
We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. I think they will. Audi don't do things by halves. You see what they've done with Ducati? Mm-hmm. I mean, they own Ducati. So, and how's that all going for you? So, well, for them and for the rest of the MotoGP.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Look, you know what I pray? I don't want to make... Actually, you know what? I do wish... Not because Max is not high on my radar, but for the sake of the entertainment factor, please, F1 come up with the goods, please.
Needed a Pecco juice or something.
Pecco juice is great. He drank a lot of Pecco juice on the weekend at Austria. Did you see how good that performance was?
Yep.
It's great. Love it. Love it. Saturday and Sunday backed it up just to keep you quiet.
Led every race.
Led every lap.
Yep.
He's been leading every race.
Led every race. Yeah, that's what it makes. He led every lap of every race on the Austrian Grand Prix weekend, and pretty dominant performance.
It was a tour de force, an absolute tour de force, and we've got some highlights of the Pecco Show. It's not even known as the MotoGP World Championship anymore, it's just known as the Pecco Show.
I still typed in MotoGP and that came up for me in Google.
Type in Pecco Show, nothing comes up. So here are the MotoGP highlights for the Austrian Grand Prix.
It's full throttle, lights out, and we are going. Spielberg, superb start from pole position once again by Pecco Bagnaia. Nailed it just as he did in the sprint yesterday. Really good start as well by Luke Marini. He's up beside P3, although he nearly lost the rear. Big moment for the number 10. That's going to break up the field. It's Bagnaia and Binder clear.
Jorge Martin, with that long lap penalty to come, is up 4 into 8. Fabio Quartararo's lost a couple of places late in that first lap. Martin is through on him.
The long lap penalty window now then open for Jorge Martin.
Jorge Martin does take the long lap penalty loop, which he had problems with this morning. As he comes through it this time, he's safely through.
Miller still resisting Marquez directly behind him on that Gresini Ducati.
Alex Marquez through then on Jack Miller up into third place.
Bezzecchi finds a way through now.
And Marini.
Yeah, and Marini. So Jack Miller, unfortunately, going the wrong way once again, just hasn't got the speed that he has at the start of these Grand Prix to keep the momentum going.
And next up behind Miller will be the two factory Aprilias.
Maverick Vinales then finally does find safe passage through on Miller. So Vinales then up into P6.
That was about all the highlights there were because Pecco just dominated all of them. We just had to cut them short. Pecco won, and there's daylight between everyone else.
Yeah.
Oh man, but mate, it was an amazing weekend, and you could almost say championship defining. But yes, we'll have to look, for the sake of MotoGP, I hope no one else wins and just Pecco wins every the rest of the year.
That would suit you very well.
It would suit me very well.
Pecco, your mate, is drawing comparison to Verstappen. Fabio Quartararo has compared the dominance of Pecco's riding in MotoGP this year to that of Max Verstappen. If you look at the change in 12 months, at the same point of the championship last year, Pecco was 91 points down on Quartararo, but this year he's 62 points ahead of his nearest rival. So it's like almost 150 point swing in his championship position.
Yeah, he turned a corner mentally outside of... He had, one spill in Japan in the second half of last year, which was... that was the only chink of his armour, is that Bagnaia would you'd almost say panic if he'd lost the lead, because he's the sort of... He's like a... with Maxim, this year's car, it doesn't matter where he starts, he'd find his way through. But Pecco is very much a rider that wants to get out front and dictate the pace.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have that, then you kind of... I still have my heart in my mouth, and we're like 12 months down the line. So... But Ducati, in terms of the bike, and I think this probably helps because you've got so many of them in terms of they all share data, have just gone in leaps and bounds, and it's, I wouldn't say killed off, but Yamaha and Honda are a shadow of what Honda in particular, but Yamaha, the drop off in performance in the last 12 months has been horrific.
Yeah, well, they're not even like Honda and Yamaha aren't even the second or third best bike. You've got KTM and Aprilia that have overtaken them, and then before that it was, you would have put Suzuki in there before you started talking Yamahas and Hondas. But it's the Honda, it's the downfall of the Honda has even got Johan Mir thinking of giving it in and packing it in, and that'd be a loss for the sport. The guy was so fast on that Suzuki when he won the World Championship in 2020. But yeah, that's just where the Honda is going, and they had a whole raft of updates at Austria with the little winglets and much more downforce on the bike, and Marquez just said he had to change the whole way he had to ride the bike to even get it to go. But it's the first Grand Prix that Marquez has finished on a Sunday in something like 306 days. So that's an interesting stat for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll run through the top 10. The Italian motorcycling god, Pecco Bagnaia first, Brad Binder second, Matteo Bezzecchi third, Luca Marini fourth, Alex Marquez fifth, Maverick Vinales sixth, Jorge Martin seventh, Fabio Quartararo eighth. He actually didn't do too bad. Alexis Spargaro ninth, and Enia Bastianini rounding out the top 10. But to put it into context, here's a good reason as to why Ducati are the way they are. Ducati first, Ducati third, Ducati fourth, Ducati fifth, Ducati seventh, and Ducati 10th. The other bikes were one KTM and Aprilia's and one Yamaha. That rounded out the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So 70% of the top 10 were Ducati motorbikes. That in itself is amazing, but there's going to be some movements in terms of riders, because overnight Johan Zarco announced that he signed for LCR Honda Castrol next year as well, which frees up a spot for Pramac. Now, is Marquez looking to go to Pramac, perhaps, to fill up the second seat with Jorge Martin?
I don't see that happening. I don't see why they would not promote someone from Moto2 onto that satellite Ducati.
Yep.
You've got like Acosta. He's going to... Well, that's why KTM are having to lock down Acosta and exercise their option on his contract, which was to put him into MotoGP, because if they didn't, then the people at that Pramac Ducati team were probably going to sign him up. But they've got Tony Arbolino, who's running second in MotoGP, Moto2, and a whole bunch of other riders there that they could steal from. I just don't see Marquez leaving Honda to go to Ducati. I just don't see it.
I know, but there was also strong rumours that I know Ducati were pushing for Franco Morbidelli to go into Duke. So maybe, because he's announced that he's left the Yamaha.
Yeah.
So there's a spare seat at Yamaha. Maybe one of the Moto2 guys will fit in that, and Morbidelli goes to fill in the second seat of Pramac.
Possibly.
That could also happen too. But, I agree. Thank God Foxtel. How good of Foxtel when they listened to the circus that chorus of viewers wanting to have the international feed of commentators back, and how much better was the racing because of their commentary. It was really cool.
Yeah, I don't know why they changed it in the first place. It just seems weird that with no sort of word of warning or anything like that, they just dropped a new feed into it. I did listen to the commentary from Silverstone, and I can't say I hated it. It was a little bit lackluster. The excitement wasn't there of the regular Dorna callers, but good on Foxtel for seeing that. That symphony of asks for it to not be those people again commentating, and they fixed the problem.
Yeah, they could have dug their heels in and said, you do what we tell you to do. Yeah. You pay the subscription, it's our rules. But no, they listened, and the end result was that everyone was happy. So, but no, Marquez, I can't see him leaving Honda. Joan Mir, it kills me because he's one of my main men. But literally watch the race and go, okay, when is it going to happen? And you see a crash, and it's like, oh god, you're waiting, and then boop, 36, Joan Mir. Oh, for God's sake!
Yep.
But even under brakes with Marquez in that Honda, it looks sketchy. Like you're seeing him turn the corner, and you think to yourself, when's it going to spill? When's it going to just go from underneath him? That just looks so sketchy to ride. Really, really bad. Under brakes in particular, he nearly hit Bastianini up the backside again in qualifying too, and it's Japanese motorcycling right now has really fallen off the radar, and whether it's to do with the HRC restructure and being branded in with Honda Racing globally in terms of how they've done that, whether it's because they're not investing, is it just poor rider development, and Marquez hasn't really done a good job of investing, giving feedback to the engineers and making the bike better rather than trying to ride around problems all the time. You can't pinpoint any one thing. It might be a combination of everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the stewarding was called into action again, and with their inconsistencies, two very similar incidents saw two very different outcomes, with Jorge Martin escaping sanction over his crash with Luca Marini, but Fabio Quartararo did basically the same thing, and he got a penalty when he crashed with Lorenzo Salvadori. So I think we're all of the organisations at the moment. We spoke about supercars and Motorsport Australia last show. We've spoken about how many times on the FIA and now the FIM as well. Like the stewarding is all over the shop.
Exactly right, and this is what really pains me when I read and see all this hoo-ha from these supposed V8 supercars supporters that want to take aim at the category, and it's like, open up your eyes. And NASCAR cop it just as bad. You could argue that it's a tie between NASCAR and V8 supercar for the densest following of in terms of intellect for the sport. F1 have got their moments too, we know that. Obviously MotoGP, all categories have got all that sort of issue. It's just ridiculous. But the best ones for me are the comments where they're like, I want to take it back to the old days when there were cars that you could buy, and it was all these difference in manufacturers, and the cars were different, and this and that, the other sort of you put a photo of Bathurst 1978 at the start, for example, and you get all these guys that come out of, all the ones that wear those those black surfboard looking thongs like from 1975 come out,
the big W specials.
Yeah, exactly, the big W specials. It's like, well, okay, can you buy a Mustang at the moment? Yeah, you can. Is the Camaro currently available in Australia at the moment? Obviously, it's going to stop being made in 2 years. Well, currently, yes, you can. Are the motors available within those cars? Yes, they are. So there's street relevance right there. Do they look exactly like the cars that you buy them on the street in terms of body and appearance? Yes, they do. Do NASCAR? No, they don't. So roughly, right, give or take. Okay, so as an example, right, so therefore showroom relevance tick, engine tick, so they've got modern safety features and technology in terms of, safety features, all that sort of stuff, tick. What else do they want?
Exciting racing.
Well, in a parity-based class, it's like exciting, but define exciting. Like, is it? I mean, okay, I'll give you a good point in terms of the intellect. Exciting racing. So let's cast our minds back to 1994 Adelaide Grand Prix support race. It's a Saturday. It's teaming down with rain, and it's the last 5 laps. You've got John Bower versus Larry Perkins. Have you seen that video footage?
No.
They are literally nose to tail. It's teaming down with rain, side by side. You get all these supporters. Oh, I want doors and bumps and this and that and the other. 4 straight laps. Perkins is on John Bower's backside. Sometimes they're side by side. You know what? Not one panel touched.
Yep.
Not one. And how good was the racing? All right, I still remember it to this day. It was amazing. You don't need to hit in order to have good racing. But these people, it's like the quality of the drivers have improved. Like the actual quality of mostly of the drivers on that grid are really, really good.
Yeah.
You know,
you see, like the cars can't follow that closely anymore, so there's not that side-by-side racing, and then if there is a slower car, all they've got to do is block a half a lap and they're good to go. That's why they're getting to the point where they've got to rub panels and all the rest of it. So, yeah, look, it would be good that, you know, we've gone so far into having things that have so much downforce. Like, just let's get rid of downforce. Get rid of it. Get rid of it all.
Yeah, well, hey, I've got no problem with that.
Yep.
Just let the cars run as is. You know, like the Mustang's got a little rear wing. Camara's got a little rear wing.
Yeah.
Little front spoilers, straight off the showroom floor if you want to do it like that. But then they want showroom floor. You've got the 6-hour race at Easter. And who spectates that? 3 crickets and a blade of grass.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the investment into it.
Exactly. And who's dominating? BMWs. Right, there's no Holden, there's no Ford. They've got to get past that whole nostalgia piece.
Yeah.
You know, the best bit is, TCM provides, you know, great racing. Really? TCM? Are you guys serious? Yeah. No. Ask TCM what they think of their broadcast deal right now, and then I'll tell you how good the racing is. So, God, I could whinge about it all day. Just, you know, gives me the EBGBs, to be honest with you.
TCM for me is the same as S5000. That's where I go to the bathroom and grab a drink.
Yeah. You know what? It's Appendix J, like what it was meant to be modelled on, was really cool because you could see these cars that you used to read about. Like you'd see a Falcon HO, you'd see a Valiant, you know, like you'd see a 64 Mustang, and it's like, so this is what they sounded like. But they were the proper, original proper cars, like a Jaguar, all that sort of stuff, like early 60s. You kind of think, okay, is that what they sounded like at Bathurst and all that sort of stuff? TCM's not that. They're sports sedans. The motors aren't the same. They've got different brake packages, exactly the same as what you're saying. Like it's not like what they think it is. So, yeah, but credit to Joel Heinrich, who had a great weekend in TCM, I've got to say, as well.
No, kid can drive anything that has 4 wheels and a motor and be fast in it, that's for sure. So, look, it was not a surprise to see him up there, to be fair.
I was surprised he actually even got the gig. I didn't know.
It was a surprise to me as well to see him on the grid, but when you did see him on the grid, knew he was going to be fast, but good couple of battles with Stevie Johnson and stuff, but ultimately came away with a round win.
I reckon we'll wind it up, mate.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I reckon if I... yeah, I know, I can tell. Your eyelids are touching me on the other side of the desk, so it's fine. I still can't believe you actually came back 2 hours, like, literally from Queensland. How long's the flight to Noosa? Direct?
It was like 3 hours or something. No, because we flew to Brisbane, and then Brisbane to Noosa in the car, so it was about an hour and a half drive to the airport this morning, and then on the plane.
Who drove?
No, we had a chauffeur.
Oh, how'd you feel with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
You weren't like sketching out or whatever?
A little bit.
Gripping the door handle?
A little bit.
You didn't hold your wife's hand?
No, he was actually quite a good driver. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't really have to get over the top of him and try and take the wheel too many times.
That's a first.
Yep.
There you go. As long as you had fun, mate.
I did, for sure.
I'll let you know who won the Grand Prix tomorrow because you won't watch it.
You're probably right.
Well, if I don't see you during the week, I will more than likely see you at Barossa.
I'll be there.
The next episode should be fun-filled. Hopefully we have... You know what a dream of mine would be, that there's this boom, thump on the desk, and that's me putting the trophy going, be like, meh.
You better get your preparation sorted and start getting some mind laps in and get yourself trained up.
Yes. Hey, you know what? It'll be an achievement if I can get through the 20 laps without my forearms cramping. So, no, we should be good. But, yes, we'll be back next fortnight. We'll obviously review the 4-stroke stage championships at Barossa, the Dutch Grand Prix, and all other forms of motorsport. Maybe even a Sandown 500 preview. We'll see how we go. But I hope you enjoyed the show. Good night, and we will see you in a fortnight's time.
You've reached the checkered flag of another episode of Negative Camber, the Motorsports Show. A huge thank you to you, our incredible listeners. Your support and passion for motorsports fuels our enthusiasm to bring you the latest results, analysis, and interviews from the racing world. Keep that FOMO at bay by subscribing to Negative Camber on your favourite podcast platform. We'd also love it if you could leave us a review and share the show with fellow racing enthusiasts. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, Negative Camber is more than just a podcast. We're a community of dedicated fans who live and breathe motorsports. Follow us on socials, join us on our website, negativecamber.co, and be sure to subscribe to the Negative Camber Club for access to exclusive content, episode previews, and special deals from our amazing partners. A huge thank you goes out to our podium partners and our incredible sponsors. Your partnership allows us to continue bringing you this show and dive deeper into the world of motorsports. If your business adds value to the motorsport community, get in touch with us to become a Negative Camber partner. So until next time, stay fueled with passion, embrace the Negative Camber, and keep chasing those podium finishes.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.